Benedict Cumberbatch has a new movie premiering at Sundance, and to promote the film, he did an interview with Variety that came out this morning. And in that interview, he accidentally revealed some tidbits about his involvement in the upcoming Avengers films. And I've got some thoughts, so let's talk about it. So the interview is summarized in an article by Variety, and they're just kind of talking about his involvement in Doctor Strange, and they close out a paragraph saying, "But Cumberbatch has let something slip, and he seems momentarily horrified by his candor." Continues down, he just told me that Doctor Strange is taking a hiatus in the next Marvel sequel, 2026's Avengers Doomsday. Is that a spoiler, he asks? And then he says a bad word that my mother does not allow me to say. Undeterred, he shares that things changed when Jonathan Majors, whose character Kang was intended to serve as the main antagonist of the next phase of the comic book film franchise, was fired in 2024 after being convicted of assaulting his girlfriend. Cumberbatch's absence from Doomsday has to do with the character not aligning with this part of the story. And though he probably shouldn't be saying this, he also revealed that Doctor Strange is in a lot of Avengers Secret Wars, which will hit theaters in 2027. He's quite central to where things go. Cumberbatch teases, he hints that the character last seen casting spells in 2022's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness will appear in a third standalone film, but is hesitant to say too much beyond praising Marvel for being collaborative. And then it kind of continues on just talking about how they're collaborative, but it doesn't talk about his future in the MCU specifically so much as they listen to him and they care about what he has to say. So there's kind of a lot in there in regards to what his involvement was going to be, what caused it to change, and where we will see him next. Now, here's where things get a little bit interesting. Back last June, he was doing an interview related to a Netflix project he was working on, and in that interview, he let up something slip an update about Avengers 5, where he said, "It's been a pretty lovely relationship that Marvel ever since being cast. I'm very much looking forward to Avengers next year, which is cooking up a storm." So this was like a big headline last summer that Benedict Cumberbatch will be shooting and filming Avengers 5 in 2025. That was on his schedule. That was his plan. That's what was up next for him. So much so that either he let it slip, wasn't supposed to let it slip, but it came out in an interview that he was excited to be shooting the next Avengers movie. Then you get today's article that has a very different story. So you go back to the new quote. He's no longer in Doomsday. And as he says, the character was not aligning with this part of the story. So when it was Kang Dynasty, when Kang was the villain, it was gonna be this big Doctor Strange Kang story, at least in some regard. And now with them pivoting towards Doctor Doom, Doomsday, whatever they were doing with Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr. coming back, it no longer made sense for Doctor Strange to be a part of this story. He needs to be in the next part of the story, which is Secret Wars. So I have a lot of feelings on all of this. On the one hand, they've brought in writers and directors that I trust more. I guess only one of the writers of Endgame and Infinity War and Winter Soldier are returning to write the new movies, but I trust the guy that wrote Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame more than the guy that they had working on this stuff before. Likewise, I trust the Russos in this space more so. So there's elements to this that there's borrowed trust based off their past track record. I go, okay. You guys know what you're doing. So I'm trust because of that. But. The other side to this is that this to me feels like the perfect example of what has been so frustrating with the entire Multiverse Saga. This is a perfect example of why I feel like something's broken with Marvel Studios right now. That what they did so well in previous phases with focus, with the audience knowing where things are going, knowing who the stars are, they did that so well, and they have utterly failed to do that since Endgame. They haven't built up new stars, both in front of and behind the camera, characters as talent behind the scenes, and they haven't had a story that's focused enough for us to be able to track along on what matters, where we're going, how the different pieces tie into it. And the idea that Doctor Strange, of all characters, is now out of Doomsday. I like, it's the sort of thing where I go, this is exactly what I've been talking about. I hope he gets a great movie, but I just see a lot of red flags. So I'm nervous. Today's video is brought to you by Factor. Ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes it easy with chef-prepared gourmet meals. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. In 2025, I'm looking to be healthier and more productive. Factor helps me to eat right in less time. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Because the meals are chef prepared, they're able to take ingredients I wouldn't normally naturally gravitate towards and make them taste really good. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, and grab-and-go snacks, and more add-on items. I like the protein smoothies to start my day. As I mentioned before, I'm a high protein kind of guy. Eat smart with Factor. Get Factor at factormeals.com/SeanChandler50 off and use code SeanChandler50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code SeanChandler50 off at factormeals.com/SeanChandler50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. To be specific, I feel like Multiverse Saga doesn't have clear focus, vision, through line. There's constantly changing scripts to where too many cooks are in the kitchen. They're trying to fix movies in post. So these constantly evolving scripts. That's what he just described here. You have a bunch of setup that goes nowhere, and there's an over-reliance on gimmicks rather than developed storytelling. How exactly is Doctor Strange not being Doomsday the perfect example of this? Well, I mean, I think the first two, it's pretty obvious. The script changed because they didn't have a vision. They had to change the plan. Some of that is Jonathan Majors and the complexities there. Some of it, Kang just wasn't working in general. But the other half is the big one where this is a perfect example of it. Doctor Strange seemed like he was going to be one of the big stars of the Multiverse Saga. Doctor Strange and Wong. It wasn't just Doctor Strange. So you had Wong showing up in Shang-Chi. He's even in She-Hulk, just making all these little cameos. Spider-Man No Way Home. Of course, Doctor Strange himself is in the big multiverse event film Spider-Man No Way Home. Then he gets his own movie with multiverse in the title. And he was the star, or not, he wasn't the star, he was the best character in What If. There was a big focus on Doctor Strange in What If. So 3 different big multiverse projects focused on Doctor Strange and his importance to everything that was kind of going on. So it's like, okay, Doctor Strange is really important. And Wong has kind of become our Nick Fury of the Multiverse Saga, just kind of popping up here and there, pulling people together. Where have they been the last 2.5 years? When are we going to see him again? That right there, that to me is the problem with what they've been doing. That it seems like someone's a big deal and then they're not. And then you set him up as like this pivotal key piece in the multiverse and everything going on. And he's like a through line from the previous 2 Avengers movies to where we're going. And now he knows Spider-Man. He's involved with all these different characters. And then he's just not in the next Avengers film. you set him up and Wong up as pivotal for Multiverse, and then he's not in our first Multiverse Avengers movie. You go, what is happening here? And this ties into another problem I brought up many, many, many times before, that we don't know who the current Avengers are. Like at all. So you think, oh, we'll probably have Doctor Strange in there because he was in the previous two movies. We gave him all this attention. Nope, he's not in there. Doctor Strange isn't in the movie. What? So who's the team? Who's on this Avengers team? That to me is what gets so concerning. That all the setup, that's not what we know about this upcoming movie. What we know is, yeah, Robert Downey Jr. is coming back. And Chris Evans is coming back. Which are gimmicks. Maybe they're great gimmicks. Like, Robert Downey Jr. is a fantastic actor. I do not doubt his ability to play a villain that is compelling and interesting and charismatic. Like, I think he can do all of that, of course. But when you cast the star of your previous saga, your greatest hero with the sacrificial heroic death as the villain of your new saga, we're not stupid. We know what you're doing and we know why you're doing it. But that is inherently a gimmick. Gimmick doesn't mean bad. Spider-Man No Way Home, fantastic experience. But doing 3 Spider-Mans using multiverse is a gimmick. Doing multiverse to do Deadpool and Wolverine, it's a gimmick. It's a very fun, entertaining gimmick, but it's a gimmick. Gimmick does not mean bad, but gimmick does mean gimmick. That's my frustration here. That instead of building on characters, storytelling that you were trying to do with Doctor Strange, what we're doing in Spider-Man No Way Home, what was done in Loki, what was done in all these different projects, it seems like none of that matters. We're not building off of what came before. We're like, oh crap, none of that worked. Let's bring back everybody else. That just feels like a red flag to me. That's what's so disappointing, frustrating, because they were really good at making me care about characters in the past and care about where things were going next. And it's like, it's not like I knew who Thanos was in 2012 with any great knowledge. Like, I could identify him, a picture of him. I could say Infinity Gauntlet, but I wasn't like an expert on Thanos in 2012. But you got me excited. And I knew where I was headed. And I knew who the stars were. I knew who to care about and kind of how they played. And I didn't know exactly where it was going, but I knew what mattered and why it mattered. And now I have no idea if the guy that was a Spider-Man No Way Home, the Multiverse of Madness, What If, and his buddy Wong, who was in everything else, don't matter for the next Avengers movie. If they don't factor into it, what is this movie? What are we doing? That's frustrating. That doesn't mean the movie will be bad. They've brought in people that have a fantastic track record that I trust. But as a fan since May of 2008, that has built a career talking about this stuff and built this career specifically on the excitement I had building towards Infinity War and Endgame. That's why I have this career. There was something that they were doing really well that all of us were a part of, and there was an excitement, and they're not doing that anymore. The trick they currently have to get people excited is, hey, look, multiple Spider-Man. Hey, look, Deadpool is doing a movie with Wolverine and Hugh Jackman's coming back and there's going to be cameos. Hey, look, Iron Man is now Doctor Doom. That's their thing to get people excited. They're not even focusing in on their remaining existing heroes. The only cast we know of for Avengers Doomsday are the people they retired in 2019. None of the people they've set up since have been confirmed. And now all we know is one of the people that was a major piece of Phase 4, not even in it. That's disappointing. It's frustrating. And that to me is exactly the perfect example of what's wrong with the Multiverse Saga. It's just so scattershot. and gimmick based rather than character and story based. They're not building up storylines. They're not building up characters. They're relying on nostalgia, relying on cameos, relying on, hey, look who's back. I want to love it. If it's great, I will have a big smile on my face. I'm frustrated, but I'm excited for Daredevil in a month or whenever that's coming out. I've got good vibes about that one right now, but Marvel, Kevin Feige, pull it together. Let me know you guys' thoughts down below. I don't really want to be negative, but if you're trying to understand, for some of you that are still amped up and positive, and like, why are you guys so negative? This is why. I have this conversation with people all the time that are just so frustrated by this stuff. We don't know what's going on or why Doctor Strange was a big deal and then he disappeared. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below. Keep talking movies and TV too much. Bye.